Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to week 7 of quarantine. We're here live in East Atlanta from the Foodwell Alliance Quarantine Studios, bringing you some weekly updates about what's happening here in local food, as well as interviewing several people on the ground, making it happen. Very excited to speak with Brent Hall of Freewheel Farm today. What's the neighborhood he's in? I know it's on Little Street, but he's very close to Turner Field. They have been pivoting, really serving that neighborhood, switching to online. So excited to hear about how that transition is going. We're also speaking with Lauren Cox, who's a former farmer. She's currently at Georgia Organics, serving as the farm to restaurant coordinator. They've got an amazing program called Food Fight Georgia that's helping to feed unemployed restaurant workers with local food. So really excited to hear about how that's going, and also just kind of get a sense for what's happening in the restaurant scene. Additionally, Georgia Organics, as well as Foodwell Alliance, Community Farmers Markets, Wholesome Wave Georgia, Global Growers Network, and the Common Market Georgia have all partnered to support the Farmer Fund. The Farmer Fund was originally for natural disasters, but has changed to support farmers during the COVID-19 pandemic. The applications for the Farmer Fund are open now. This is available for farmers who have suffered some kind of financial loss or unexpected cost due to pivoting. There's a few other requirements on the application for how the money can be used, but essentially if you've suffered any type of financial hardship or additional costs due to COVID-19, the Farmer Fund can help you. They're going to be issuing $1,000 grants, and applications are due on May 10th. So it's kind of a short turnaround, but we wanted to try to get that money out to people as soon as possible. And if you would like to contribute towards the Farmer Fund and help us raise that money so that we can help more farmers, go to thefarmerfund.org and you'll be able to make a donation there. Our last guest, Chef Zoo of King's Apron, he worked with us last week to do a cooking demo for some hospital workers. Serving local food, he prepared these meal kits and then did a demo live from his community garden, teaching people how to make these meals. So that was a really great program. We're looking forward to hearing more. Great to get some local food to frontline workers, give them a bit of a break, and we're kind of looking forward to breaking those out and making some more publicly available cooking demos, because we know a lot of people are cooking for the first time right now. Let's see, we also worked with Willie Miller this morning of Miller City Farms down in South Fulton. He's got a project to deliver raised bed gardens to as many residents in South Fulton as possible, and we hooked him up with some compost and some wood so that he could raise the number of people he was supporting. So that happened this morning. We had 3 members of our team down there lending a hand, so shout out to them, shout out to Willie, and shout out to everybody who's installing gardens right now. We need them now more than ever. And lastly, I wanted to give a shout out to Kari Diop and Chris Teal. We have contracted them to help do some garden and farm work, whether that's plowing, tilling, getting the land ready. So Chris started his work today, and he'll be working with us for the next few weeks. Kari has been out at gardens for the last few weeks and has been crushing it. Like at least 20 gardens he's totally transformed. So big shout out to Kari Diop. He's been doing amazing work. So if you see him, give him a pat on the back. Well, an air pat on the back, because you shouldn't touch him. But great work over there. And as we've been seeing, more unemployment continue to roll in. Another 3.6 million people unemployed nationwide this week alone. So again, we want to remind people that if you have become recently unemployed and you need assistance getting food, whether that's SNAP or EBT at farmers markets, anything like that, our friends at Wholesome Wave Georgia have been tremendously helpful in helping make sure people can get access to food. So please go check out Wholesome Wave Georgia if you need any kind of support. They got a bunch of different programs that they're working to release to just get help to as many people as possible. So big shout out to Wholesome Wave Georgia. So that's about it for the updates I have today. We're going to go ahead and bring on our first guest, Brent Hall of Freewheel Farm, and let's see if we can add him. Good to see everybody in the chat. UGA Extension, we got Lily up in here. Nice to see everybody. Brent!
Hello. Hey.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good to see your face.
Yeah. Good to see yours too. And I shaved. You might notice.
Oh, nice. See, I made the comment last week or 2 weeks ago that these have been a great reminder for me to shower, and totally forgot today. So this is just me raw. This today did not shave, as you can see.
Yep.
So just from a high level, obviously I know a bit about your farm, but if you could just tell everyone about Freewheel Farm, the kind of operation you run, and where your main site is located, just so people get an idea of the work you're doing.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm at our original site in Summerhill right now, right near the old Turner Field, and we can see the downtown skyline from here. But you can kind of see this is a little quick view of the space. Not huge, but we're producing a lot of food here. This is our first site. We started here in 2013, and we've since expanded to 2 other sites. One site in a large backyard in Druid Hills, and then a very large site in the Mount Perrin North Side area. So we've now got maybe an acre total in production, maybe a little bit more. Just growing good food and trying to get it out to the community.
Now there was, when we were doing those forums about a year ago, you had a line about like how many pounds you grew on like a third of an acre.
Oh yeah. I think, God, I'm trying to remember what it was. It might have been like 15,000 pounds, something like that.
Yeah.
A lot of food.
A lot more
and
than
really,
you would expect on a third of an acre, I think, is the main point.
Yeah.
So you have always been like very, very community focused in your approach, whether that's through CSAs or whether it's making sure that the people who live in your neighborhood can gain access to your food, or doing a market very close by. So can you tell us a little bit about maybe sort of how that has set you up for now, for what you're doing now, and how you're able to continue serving your like really hyper-local community?
Yeah, so we started off as basically just a farmer's market kind of farm, and we've been working with the Grant Park Farmers Market, which is just a third of a mile away from the farm site that I'm at now. So we've, from our inception, basically sold within a stone's throw of the farm here and gotten to know a lot of community members that way. A few years ago, we cleared some new land down at the bottom of the hill at this site and set it up with help from Foodwell Alliance. Thank you. We set it up to be suitable for a farm stand. So we built a nice entrance and a gate and cleared the space and set up lights and picnic tables and all of that stuff. So we started doing that last year, and we had an awesome response to that. Just huge outpouring of support from the community, and really just a great vibe over here. And so that, I think, set us up well to be able to adapt to what's going on now, which when we started the year, or as we were getting started for the year in like late January, early February, of course, we were imagining we'd be doing our farm stands as normal and our farmers markets as normal. And of course, that has all shifted and changed, and I won't jump into that just yet, unless you want me to. But
well, yeah, I mean, that was certainly my next question. I mean, had you ever envisioned doing this much sort of online transactions?
Never. And I'm surprised I'm able to do this with you right now. I'm very technophobic. I'm not good at this stuff at all. I hadn't updated our website. I had a friend build a website for us several years ago. I hadn't touched it, logged in, edited anything on the website for like over 2 years.
Wow.
That's just not my strong suit or my area of interest. But basically the Grant Park Market made the decision to close down which I respect and understand, kind of in the best interest of everyone's safety. So they shut down for 2 weeks. The food doesn't stop growing, so we have a ton of food still coming out of the ground, and we're like, okay, how can we get this food out to our community in the safest way possible without, because we did, even before the market shut down, we started doing these early farm stands earlier than we had planned on, because the grocery store shelves were bare. We were having people reach out to us saying, hey, how can I get some of your produce? So we made the decision to start doing the farm stands, I think in March sometime, which is a couple months ahead of when we normally would have started doing them. So we were doing the in-person farm stands where people would come onto the space, and we had kind of we were regulating how many people were on the property at once, and having separate people handling cash versus handling produce, those type of things, having hand sanitizers. We built a couple of bucket hand wash stations, those type of things. And, I think we did that really well, and had a great response to that. But then as things started to get even more serious, we kind of realized, okay, we may need to change this again, and focus on curbside pickup. Just pre-packing orders, taking orders online, pre-packing the orders, and having people just literally drive up in their cars. Some people are just writing their name on a sheet of paper, putting it in the window, popping their trunk, and we're dropping the order in their trunk. Some people are coming on foot, but everybody's been just great about it, and we've been able to also making sure that our staff are, using gloves and hand sanitizer and masks and things like that. For everybody's health and safety. And it's definitely been a huge shift for us, and a bit of a learning curve for me with the online stuff. But I'm really glad that we're doing it, and our customers seem to love it. And we're just kind of adapting to the new normal.
Do you have maybe one piece of advice or guidance for a farmer who may be in your position, who's a bit nervous or struggling a bit with the online? Is there anything that kind of helped you make this transition, or was it just grit and getting through it?
Find a young person who knows how to do this stuff. That's what I did. And I got to give a big shout out to Betsy at Osono Bread. We've been sort of co-marketing together for a while, and she's fantastic with all of that stuff. I don't know if she needs more work right now at that, but I recommend just find someone who knows how to build websites and how to do this stuff. And she basically did all of it and trained me on it and got me set up to do it. So I think just for me, I always was just nervous about even taking the first step, so I was like, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to do the web store or online payments or any of that. But getting over that, just taking the first step, diving into it, and knowing that you can do it. Like, I don't know, I never felt like I was very good at that stuff, but as soon as I got into it, it's intuitive. There are a lot of great platforms out there. The technology is great. Just have someone help you out and jump in. But customers love it. I think it's the safest and easiest way for us all to make these kind of exchanges that we need to make, get people produce, and do the financial part of it without risking, spreading the virus.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So for anybody who's looking to either buy online or come visit your farm stand or at a market, how would they find you?
So we're at freewheelfarm.com. Our web store is actually open right now through tomorrow evening, and we'll be packing up pre-orders tomorrow for distribution on Sunday afternoon. All that information is up on the website, freewheelfarm.com. We're on Instagram, freewheelfarmatl. We're on Facebook, and and we're also at the Grant Park Farmers Market, which has reopened, and we're really happy to be out there and be able to see people face to face too who do feel comfortable coming out. We definitely had missed seeing everyone for several weeks. So
It's difficult, but necessary. So thank you for all of the hard work you've been doing and all of the adjustments you had to make on the fly. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate you. So yeah, I want to let you get back to the field, but it was nice to see you, and hopefully I'll see you this Sunday at the market.
Good to see you too. Yeah, thanks, James.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye.
All right, great seeing and talking to Brent, who's been, as you heard, making a lot of changes here on the fly, shifting to the online marketing. As you heard his advice, find a young person. If anyone out there is struggling, I think I still qualify as a young person, but I'd be happy to help. And yeah, just doing great work here in Summer Hill. So next, we're going to chat with Lauren Cox from Georgia Organics. Want to hear a little bit more about the food fight she's engaged in, as well as the Farmer Fund, which is going to be supporting farmers over the next couple of months. Lauren, what's going on?
Hey, James, how are you?
You got some great backlighting there. I can barely see your face.
Yeah, it's the blessed sun giving me that vitamin D.
It's the best disinfectant, I hear.
It is, and it's the best mood lifter too. So.
Oh well, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
At least for me right now.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I'm going to spend some time outside as soon as this is over. Wanted to. So you've been on the show before. There's not many people who can claim that. But just for anyone who may not know, can you just tell everyone a little bit about what you do at Georgia Organics?
Yeah. So I have been working with Georgia Organics over the last year, running a farm to restaurant program. The main goals of that program were to encourage and support chefs in sourcing more from farms within Georgia, and then also create opportunities for networking and making connections between farmers and chefs. And then lastly, driving that message home with consumers and guests of restaurants that, you have the opportunity to spend your money at restaurants that support the local food economy every time you go out to eat, and really making that connection for them. So that's kind of what I did pre-COVID.
Yeah, BC.
Yeah.
So yeah, now you've obviously shifted quite a lot, but the most recent sort of venture I've heard is the Food Fight Georgia. Can you just tell everybody a little bit about what Food Fight is, and then I guess afterwards we'll get into like how people can participate in it. But what is Food Fight Georgia?
Yeah. So Food Fight Georgia, the name is not as descriptive as we would like it to be, but essentially we're championing our farmers and supporting our restaurant family. So Food Fight Georgia, it was brought to me through a friend, Chris Wilson, who is the owner of Root Baking Company in Pond City Market, back 4 weeks ago when all of this stuff was kind of unfolding rather rapidly. And he had the idea to partner with some of these farmer champion restaurants with the help of the Jamestown Charitable Foundation, which is the nonprofit branch of the Jamestown Development Company that owns Pond City Market Real Estate. It also owns a couple of other places around Atlanta. A lot of these places they own have restaurant tenants as well. So he got me on a phone with the Jamestown folks. They were super on board to try to support this way that Chris basically had imagined, addressing food insecurity within the restaurant staff as these restaurants were shuttering their doors. So we kind of thought up what that looked like, and we essentially it's a box program.
Okay, so the last thing we heard was about CSA box, basically, but sounds like you're focusing on restaurant staff and getting them a box of fresh local food. Is that about right?
Yes, and so we wanted to be really clear. It's not a CSA box.
Oh, okay.
So we're telling everyone to call it a family
Okay.
box,
Okay.
or the veggie box. Just because, it's essentially seed money for a farm pre-season, and it's really an investment in a farm, and we're aggregating. So, just wanted to be a little clear on that, and it's been a learning lesson for us, and talking about the program too. Just something we're all kind of trying to figure out. It's similar to that, but it's not that.
Yeah.
But it's essentially a veggie box each week for these front of house, or for this staff at these restaurants. So when we started it, the main goals were this, like feeding staff of restaurants that now find themselves with economic instability, as well as food insecurity during this time. The people that have fed and served us in the service industry, and the people that we have relationships with. The second goal was to maintain essentially the flight pathways of these farms that we're selling to restaurants already. So maintaining those relationships, buoying those relationships when the restaurants themselves can work those relationships. So the cool thing about this is these farmers are also delivering.
All right. Take 3. See if we can finish this one out. So how do people participate in the food fight? Is that either from like a restaurant standpoint or from a farm standpoint? Or is it a fairly self-contained program right now?
So we're looking to onboard, for every farmer champion restaurant we onboard, we want to onboard a non-farmer champion restaurant. So the third goal of this was to create new connections between farmers and chefs.
Okay.
Opening it up to other restaurants with a focus on racial equity, having women owners, diversity in staff, diversity in parts of town. We're taking inquiries for it.
Oh my God. So the last thing we heard was adding on a new partner, focusing on racial inequities, and then it cut out, and now your voice is gone again. So the third time was not a charm. I was very sad. I don't know what to do at this point. I'd love to finish hearing the conversation, but I also see that Chef Zoo is here in the chat, so it may be time to add Chef Zoo. So I'm wondering if we just had a comment here from Georgia Organics with the link. Could y'all post a link to the Farmer Fund, let people know how they can access it? If you could just drop that info into the comments, that would be really appreciated. For now, we are going to shift gears and talk to Chef Zoo, who's been doing some work here with hospital workers, as well as adding or creating some pallet gardens for people in his neighborhood. We're going to go ahead and add in Chef Zoo to the stream, waiting on his connection right now. No problem, Lauren. You should have seen last week. I had so many technical issues last week. It happens. This is what happens when you go live. You never know what's going to happen. Chef, how's it going?
All is well. How are you?
I'm doing well. We just had some technical issues with Lauren, so I'm hoping that your internet connection stays strong so we can get the full scope of what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, man. I caught part of the end of it where it had, that glitch. But, technology can, you know what I mean? You can never be too sure.
You can never be too sure, indeed. So wanted to just kind of get a sense. Well, actually, let me back up. Can you let the people know, what King's Apron is, and tell them a little bit about yourself and, why you're promoting plant-based diets and why local food is so important, and the, nutritional education work you do. Obviously, you could get into a lot of detail, but just kind of if you could give people a general sense of what it is that you're about.
Yeah, so King's Apron focuses on culinary arts through nutrient-dense food. So, I'm a farm-to-table style chef and a certified holistic nutritionist. And from there, I just got further and further into the food system. So I'm basically a foodie.
There you go.
In the sense of, I want to be able to grow the food, process the food, understand the distribution chains of the food, as well as, what I've been doing, consuming food myself, but making sure that other people can do that. But then the restoration, the taking it back to the essence, right? So that the waste is minimal. And there's so many different ways. Like I'm looking at this, I don't know if you can see it, but this compost bin next to me.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've ever built one as big for myself. I had a much smaller one, but I was like, it's time to take it to the next level. But then even the jamming initiative that, the Farmer Jam Band does.
Hey.
Yeah, to me, that's still restoration, right? Like a lot of people would say, no, that's distribution or that's consumption. But I'm like, no, that's restoration. Yeah, because we're preserving things that would have normally went to waste.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a level of food saving or food rescue. And now that food is prepared in a manner to where it can be shelved for, a year or what have you. And it doesn't have to go into the compost. And now the farmer can still find that traceability. The person that eats the jam can still find the farmer, as well as the chef and all of the parties that were involved. So I think that restoration part is like a big thing for me right now, as far as what I've done in the past and where I'm trying to go in the future. But yeah, I'm a foodie, nonetheless.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point you bring up about canning. I'm not sure many people are aware that a lot of canned food is food that probably wouldn't have been sold. It may be considered seconds. It may have gone to market and not been sold, which therefore renders it unsellable. There's a lot of food that would be destined for a compost pile or, heaven forbid, some other kind of waste management system that, through the process of canning, allows that food to continue to be a revenue stream, continue to be a food source for people who need it during a time of year when it may not be accessible. And I always think about that with strawberries and tomatoes. But that's why you see a lot of jams at the holidays, because there's basically no fruit in November or December here in Georgia. So preserving it is really a great way of accessing it. So
yes,
last week you did a cooking demo for some healthcare workers. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how that went, where you sourced the food from, and just kind of the whole initiative, how it came together.
Yeah, it was an awesome opportunity to be a part of. So basically, with the help of Freewheel Alliance, we were able to, just to be, because people don't like to talk money, but I mean, we were able to acquire a budget that was large enough for us to actually provide the food to the community the way that we want to. I think a lot of times chefs find themselves cutting corners because we're like independent and, small businesses. So a local farmer sometimes doesn't make sense when you're trying to drop the price of your food. You know what I mean? So just to have a budget that was like decent enough to be able to pay myself, one, and then make sure that we had, a good portion of that. I mean, a large percentage of it, like 20% of the budget would go directly to local farmers. And hopefully as the initiative progresses, we'll try to go through different farmers. But as far as last week, the 3 farms that we got food from was Mina's Farm on the west side. We got food from Grow Where You Are, Nicole Blue, and Eugene Cook. And we got food from J Mushrooms. So, yeah, we got, 3 farmers involved last week.
And I loved how you did the demo live from your community garden. Can you tell us a little bit about how close you are, both in proximity and in relationship with the Belvedere Peace Garden?
Oh yeah, Belvedere Peace Garden is my second home. When I'm not working, I'm usually in my backyard, as I am now, as you can see behind me. But then if I'm not here, I'm at Belvedere Community Garden. So it's near and dear, but literally like 0.2 miles from my house. So it's like community for real. And we were welcomed there, and we were able to facilitate that plant-based demo directly from the garden. Like we were in between the garden beds even. I mean,
Yeah.
To me, it was the most awesome thing. To be so close to food. I mean, to have food in your hands from farmers and then sitting around food from community, it was just like a super high vibration I was feeling all through that time period. So definitely, thankful to be put in the position to be able to do that work.
Yeah, no, the photos looked amazing. I mean, it was right on par. I was just sort of like, man, it's only a matter of time before Chef Zoo's on the Food Network doing this.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely take it to that level. I just would want the Food Network to let me go into the garden.
Yeah, well, right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't like really want to do cooking classes in the sense of like classrooms anymore. Like, we already know about institutionalized educational systems. The last thing I want to do is like turn cooking program into like an offset or, like an extension of institutionalized educational systems. I mean, we can go way into it, but we're not going to now. But just colors in a room, right? To sit in a room with 4 white walls and just maybe one window. What it does to the mind, where it keeps it at, in the difference of educating yourself and consuming knowledge around bright, vivid colors. So there's been studies done, that the children that can educate themselves, or just anyone that can educate themselves around that palette, like the color palette, you just become smarter, wiser, you retain things longer, and the cognitive function is just, proven to be a little bit better. So, I mean, I think that's the way to go for me in the future, is to try to do as much as I can from a garden, a farm, or being outdoors in nature while cooking.
I love it. I love that. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Wande, who joined us last week from Little Ones Learning Center, who she explored a lot of the things that you were just talking about more in depth, but particularly around learning, learning during COVID-19. What does that mean? And so also shout out to the Small Bites Adventure Club, who have been doing some great work with some education, or cooking education for children, just helping them do more hands-on education with the family, which is really so vital right now. So the last thing I wanted to ask you about, at least as far as what's on my list, was you had started rolling out or creating a few pallet gardens. I was kind of wondering if you could talk a little bit about that process, and just kind of how that's going, and how you build them.
Yeah, so the thing was basically like accessibility and lack of space, right? So even in my backyard, I built raised beds, and I could show you these little cinder blocks right here. I don't know if you can see them. But yeah, I got like these herbs and these cinder blocks going over here.
Oh, yeah.
So I tried all different types of things right in the backyard, and I was just like, let's do something different and new. But I definitely don't have that much space to do it in. And just being at the community garden where we were at, Belvedere Peace Garden, I seen 2 pallets laying on the ground, and I seen something online a long time ago where somebody had like some food coming out of pallet. So I said, I wonder how hard this would be to do. So I'm going to show you really quick if you could see it. Can you see it? Yeah. So,
yeah, we can see it.
So this is one of the pallets right here. This is the first. I just wanted to make sure gravity and everything would work out too. Like, when you turn it up right, that the plants didn't shift too much to where they broke off by moving, and that they would. So if you look, it's actually growing up now. Like
Yeah, so just to be clear for everyone viewing, that pallet is leaning up against the fence. It's not flat on the ground.
Yeah, it's definitely vertical, sitting against my house. Well, which gives me all of the room that I needed on the ground. So it's just twice as nice as far as space. But then using, like, refurbished materials, which is like an eco-friendly way to go. Once again, you're dealing with zero waste. Instead of going to the store and buying more wood, we were able to, use basically a secondhand material to build something unique and creative that we can eat and enjoy. And one thing I've been looking at is sun positioning too, because like I said, a lot of my room, but everything's doing well. Like the strawberries are doing well. Some birds came and got the red ones. The lettuce is doing well. The little succulents are doing well. Threw some flowers in for color. The chard is doing well. So everything's doing well. This parsley is not doing as well, though, because it needs a little bit more sunlight than it's getting. So I'm going to probably have to take that out and replace it, put it somewhere else, and put something else there. But, yeah, so a couple people have asked, since then to either put a garden in for them or to put a pallet garden in for them. So I have about, which is, for me, I've always been a farm-to-table chef and understanding the importance of being next to the farmer. But I think people just don't realize COVID hit me really hard as a chef to where I had to pivot and figure out, ways to survive basically out here. And it made sense that if you have skills in growing food, which I've always been able to do, pretty well, to start thinking about that as an extra, avenue of income. So luckily enough, we have a couple people that want one, and I'm looking for a couple more people that might get one out there. But yeah, we're going to be doing garden installations for some people, and also medicinal herb gardens as well. So not just only food, but some people have less space and they're saying, what should I grow? If you have a little space, I think like growing 4 heads of lettuce, to me, it might not feel as empowering because it's just salad for the week, right? And now I have to wait another 25 days for the salad to rejuvenate itself, which I can show you that right now. This is lettuce that is rejuvenating itself.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so...
Nice.
So at the end of the day, it's just, it's definitely efficient. It's less space. It takes less time to manage for the person that has it. The investment is less as far as going to the store, buying raised beds and, or buying the wood and doing all of that. So I think it's a new way that a lot of people might, start to add on to their garden, or people that are starting out and don't have a garden. To me, it would be the first way to go. If you weren't going to do a pallet, then maybe do medicinal herbs, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. For people, and we have somebody here in the comments, for people who are maybe interested in getting a garden from you, what's the best way for them to touch base? Just maybe through Instagram? How are you sort of fielding requests?
Yeah, so, right now we can just tags are on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Twitter and all of those things. But I would say, it's if it's easy for you, it's easy for me. Just inbox me on Instagram, or you can email us at kingsapron@gmail.com. And this is, once again, I don't have that much space, so this is to me, it's a fusion between a small herb garden and a small vegetable garden. Like, I just kind of have half and half, like herbs and vegetables. So yeah, I'm not a farmer, but I'm definitely an urban grower, and can install gardens really well, actually. I'm pretty good with the design and the space management is what I've heard from all of the other farmers. Because like a lot of the farmers from Atlanta have seen my backyard. And every time they come here, they're like, man, the use of space, man. Like, how did you get all of that stuff over? I'm like, I appreciate it listening to a farmer telling me that I did a good job. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, for sure.
I'm definitely humble, but at the same time, willing to share my skills as a service to the community for those that need it.
So just in case anybody missed it, you can get in touch with Chef on social media, but you can also email kingsapron@gmail.com to get in touch about gardening and I'm sure cooking if they have hungry questions about that. So those are all the questions that I had left for you. I was kind of wondering if there was anything you wanted to touch upon before we ended the stream for today. Maybe just sort of about the importance of nutrition during this time, but I'll kind of leave the last word up to you.
Yeah, I think nutrition is definitely key during this time, and I think medicinal herbs are definitely key during this time. As we know, like everything's big systems, right? Like we have the school pipeline industrial system, right? You have all of these big box stores. You have this big thing called big pharma. But let's stop at big pharma. So when we say big pharma, we know that the way that these pharmacies work and that the pharmacists work nowadays is that the medications that are given to the public are replicated from things naturally derived in nature, but those things cannot be copywritten or patented. So what I'm saying is that the plants have active constituents. They have active ingredients. To give you an example, if you have a headache, you might take aspirin. Well, in nature, they have a white willow bark. The same type of idea that aspirin is what white willow bark always was. It's just that that company couldn't patent white willow bark. But when they seen that the active ingredient from this plant took away the pain and took away the headache, it gave them the idea to create a medicine that would take away the pain and take away the headache. And then you have whatever pill, right, on the market that now can be patented, marketed, and sold to millions and, people. So just to remind people that, start to get into your medicinal herbs, start to understand that the active ingredients and the active constituents in the plant will heal the body. And past that, of course, just focus on building your immune system. And the best way to do that is to have a healthy stomach. So, start getting into your fermented foods, which would once again go back into canning, preserving, right? That other part, that restoration, because anything that's fermented is going to be in a jar, basically, right? To store it. So it's just super important that we, understand the food chain, those 5, things that we always talk about. I don't know if you want to post that later, but the 5. Yep. It's key that we just focus on those 5, but through nutrition, you will begin to build up your immune system. They're doing vitamin C injections, but there's vitamin C if you understand the plants. Right? I can show you right here, and you can look it up to cross-reference me if I'm wrong. Well, I know I'm right because I did my research. This is bronze fennel. Okay? And then this is green fennel. But guess what they're high on? Vitamin C. Super high in vitamin C. For herb, content-wise, one of the highest herbs, one of the highest contents of vitamin C in a herb is fennel. Mm-hmm. And then these peppers too, right? Peppers, more peppers, more peppers. I got some peppers over there in the bucket and some more at the community garden, but all high in vitamin C. So just really starting to understand when we say nutrition, what my hope and wish for people is that they start to do the research to understand what is in the food chicken broth for a cold or for a flu. Was it really the chicken broth, or was it the onions and the garlic that was in the broth, and was it the vegetables that were steeped for a long time to make the broth? Was it that? Right? And then from that, was it the vegetables that had vitamin C? So it's just like this long trail of just understanding how things actually happen, and not that they actually happen. Not that eating good food can make me healthy, but why eating that good food can make you healthy is my hope and wish for everybody, that they start to just do a little bit more research on those things, especially during this time of COVID and this pandemic. And we all know that it could get worse as we gear back up toward the colder seasons.
Yeah, no, definitely. A very wise words, and it's definitely very timely time to get into this and to really learn about nutrition, about how it's obtained, and about how your body absorbs it as well. I think is another critical piece. So appreciate you sharing this knowledge with everybody. Once again, if you could just let everyone know how they can get in touch with you, and then I'll let you get back to the garden.
Okay, thank you so much, and appreciate the space and time. Once again, it's Chef Zoo, but online you can find us King's Apron. King, like a person that would have a crown. Apron, as if you were in the kitchen. King's Apron, but you can find us anywhere. .com, on Instagram, King's Apron, on Twitter, King's Apron, YouTube, everywhere King's Apron. So
everywhere King's Apron. That should be a shirt. All right, man. Good to see you, and we will talk again soon.
Okay, same here. Peace.
All right, peace. All right, everybody. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to another edition of Food Well Live. We chatted with Chef Zoo just now about his pallet gardens, about his nutrition education, about the importance of local food. We chatted with Lauren Cox intermittently through some breaks in the internet about Food Fight Georgia and their work to connect farms with restaurants and restaurant workers who are suffering from unemployment right now, as well as their ability to expand that pipeline. We got a bit of information about the Farmer Fund. The Farmer Fund, just again, is for farmers who have suffered some kind of financial hardship, whether that was revenue loss or unexpected cost. The applications are now live at thefarmerfund.org. Any farmer who is partnered or affiliated with Georgia Organics, the Common Market, Food Well Alliance, Community Farmers Markets, Global Growers Georgia, or Wholesome Wave Georgia, y'all are invited to apply for these funds. We hope to administer as many as possible. So if you'd like to contribute to that cause, go to thefarmerfund.org and donate. All of that money will be redistributed to farmers here in Georgia to help them get through this difficult time and support as many families as possible. So thanks for all the work that, everybody's really been doing on that as a collective, but particularly it's Georgia Organics, who has been holding down the Farmer Fund for a while. And of course, we talked with Brent Hall at Freewheel Farm, a community farm in Summerhill, who has been adjusting to online orders and, more of like a drive-through pickup model as opposed to their traditional farmers market operation. So thanks for sharing some insight about how that transition is going. Again, thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week to talk more about local food with some local growers and organizers. But until then, I hope you all get outside and enjoy the weekend, grow food, and support a local farmer. Have a good one.